But the next day, people started coming over and saying how sad he was, that how sorry they were that Brian was shot and killed, was dead. I remember telling him, I was, if God didn't want him dead, he wouldn't be dead. Remember how mad I was at God. For 3 days, I walked around that house, just time after time, just so mad at God, just so mad. How could you let them die? I felt so close to him. I always felt like I had a ring of angels around my kids and my family, and I always felt like I lived a charmed life. As I know what I've accomplished during my life, it's not me. That I was treated special. Well, kids keep coming over, and I remember taking them into the house and having them all have souvenirs of. They all asked if they could have souvenirs. I remember giving anything that he wanted. There's posters all over the walls and little decals, and just you couldn't even see the paint on the walls. There's so much stuff in his walk-in closet and his clothes, everything. And anybody came over, I gave them something of Brian's. And they just kept coming and kept coming. And before long, his room was completely bare. I gave away the bed, the dresser, the ashtrays. I kept one ashtray that he had, and I got it in a fountain at home. It was made of a rock he made. He even took the carpet out of the floor and threw it out the window, and it just echoed in there. It felt so empty, so lonely. And I was still mad at God. How could you do this? So I remember walking around the side of the house, and I was so mad at God. How could you, God? How could you let this happen to him? And I just over and over again, I was so mad at God. And I only got mad at God one time after that. I'll try to remember to tell you that. Not for long, though. I didn't get mad for long. But I remember walking around the back of the house, and there was this wall about this tall. And I don't remember going over the wall, but I remember being on the other side of the wall. And I heard a voice, clear as I'm talking to you right now. And it said, Keith, don't make me angry. You know that Brian was a gift from me to you. And Tony is a gift. That's my wife. 40 years now. We've been together. Over 40 years been together. And Brad and Carrie, all gifts from me to you. And you're not drinking for the last 7 years. And I remember correcting God. I said, it's only been 6.5 years. That's how clear, that's how vivid the conversation was. And then I remember God taking me in my mind or whatever and put me out into like outer space without a star in the sky. I was in the blackest, loneliest hole that you can imagine. It was so lonely. I remember saying, no, Lord, no, Lord. I experienced what godlessness is like. What God, without eternity, without God would be. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be in that dark place. And God knows all your names. He can call every one of you by name. He knows what's in your heart, what's in your mind. Every time you say a prayer, he listens to you. It's not just talking to a wall. It's not just I hope he is. He is. God is real. God is really real. And we're walking around this a few more feet and leaning against the fireplace chimney there and saying to myself, my God, he's really real. God is really real. Got to put in here what happened a few months before that when I was praying to God, hoping he was listening to me, hoping he was real. And I asked God, I said, I want you to talk to me and show me you're real, just like you talked to Paul in the Bible. I want you to talk to me like you talked to him. I said, but I don't want to be blinded, because I lost this eye when I was a kid. And I've always been freaked out of being blind. That darkness is just ever since I was a little kid, I was scared of being blind. Still am. So you got to watch what you ask for sometime. He does listen to you. He does answer your prayers. And no matter what happens in your life, God turns it into something good if you let him. We're walking around the front of the house again, and a little further up by the garage, leaning against the wall and saying, my God, he's really real. He's really real. And this day, I think this over my mind every day. And finally, I'm able to share it. I've been wanting to share this story for 19 years. I've never been able to, except one-on-one. I did it a couple weeks ago when God just almost yelled at me to share it, like he's yelling at me now. That I just swelling up inside me. I've got to tell this story. Anyway, to get back to, I remember taking Brian in my arms. He was in the same shirt he had on that night, like a plaid blue shirt, and his long blonde hair, Levi's on. He didn't have any shoes on, though. I remember turning around, and there was a sunset which was coming down, so bright, right at dusk, and saying, thank you, God. And I gave him back to God. And that's what's called the attitude of gratitude. I found it later on in AA. That now I've learned that no matter what happens in my life, I say, thank you, God. Sometimes I say with clenched teeth, thank you, God. But I say it. I try to say it. Or maybe I'm reminded to say it by one of my kids or my wife or somebody. Because they know that how I have learned this trick of life. That you turn it around and you thank God for everything that's happened to you, good or bad. And if it's bad, he can turn it into good. Like this, being Brian being, because here I am now, sharing this with you. So all I want to emphasize is I want you to know that God is real, and I want you to think on this a lot. And when you're praying next time, just know he's listening. And he just might answer your prayers. That's it. Thanks. Any questions?